I assure you, my video has no bugs on PS4 or Xbox One.
Howdy everyone, Matt here, and well, just like the rest of the video gaming world, I'm here to talk about this ongoing crazy situation with Cyberpunk 2077. You think that once the game was launched that we would finally be over all the issues, all the problems, all the controversies, but unfortunately they have continued and they don't look like they're going to be ending anytime soon. And unfortunately for me, I'm one of those people that is directly affected by this current controversy. Now, if you've been living under a rock the last week or so, you probably don't know, but everyone probably does know, of course, that Cyberpunk 2077 finally launched last week. And when it launched last week, there were a ton of reviews for it, and it got really, really good reviews and really good scores if you saw the scores. But if you only saw the scores, you didn't get the full picture, because if you actually read the reviews and you saw some of the commentary beforehand, you would notice that there were some interesting things that were going on regarding this title and its review situation. Number one, CD Projekt Red, for the early reviews on, I believe, December 7th, only allowed reviewers to use B-roll footage, aka footage that they had made specifically for the reviews, to be shown in video reviews of the game. They also only gave out copies of the PC version of the game to reviewers, and that was what everyone was reviewing. Now, most reviewers just reviewed that and talked about the game, talked about how there were a lot of bugs, but that would be fixed. But a few reviewers did mention, hey, they didn't give us any console codes. They're making us do this B-roll footage. And a few reviewers out there actually refused to review the game until December 9th, the day before, where CD Projekt Red said you could actually showcase your own videos. And after that, once the game launched, we found out that, unfortunately, even with all the day one patches that the game company had delayed the game for, and where the developers had to do a little more crunch to get things working, unfortunately, the game was in a much worse state than we thought, particularly on launch-based consoles for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. And not just launch, just basically the base consoles for that. And if you haven't been seeing the videos, basically the game is in a very, very rough state on those consoles. Lots of crashes being reported, lots of graphical bugs, lots of strange things happening. Many people have even said that the game is unplayable on those systems, and that unfortunately that this has really tainted the whole situation. Now, interesting enough, CD Projekt Red was very quiet about it, but then they finally came out last night and said an apology, in which I'm going to read it to you here. It says, first of all, we would like to start by apologizing to you for not showing the game on base/gen consoles before it premiered, and in consequence, not allowing you to make a more informed decision about your purchase. We should have paid more attention to making it play better on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They go into the second paragraph talking about how they're going to have patches coming out in January and February, major patches that will fix most of the problems. They say in this paragraph they won't make the game on last gen look like it's running on a high-spec PC or next-gen console, but it'll be closer to that experience than it is now. And even more importantly, they talk about in their last paragraph that they're going to do their best to make sure that anyone who is unsatisfied with their purchase can get a refund. They talk about, if you have a digital copy, please talk to Sony and Microsoft about getting a digital refund. And that's apparently been happening. Sony and Microsoft have been refunding the game for the people who want it. And for box versions, try to go get the refund at the store which you bought the game, but if you have a problem, please contact them. However, the time that you have to which you can contact CD Projekt Red is very short. It ends after a week. They say they also at the end that the PC gamers will also be getting regular updates and fixes improving the game. And this goes on top of the fact that, of course, there's been a lot of talk about the fact that CD Projekt Red actively avoided showing those consoles, actively avoided trying to tell the truth about what the game was like on those consoles. This apology is very, very interesting in the fact that when you look at a lot of games that have come out in the last couple of years that had similar situations, I think the biggest one I can remember is No Man's Sky. They didn't have an apology. No Man's Sky did it very differently. They decided to just be quiet, The Hello Games was very quiet about it, and they went and worked on it, and they fixed it and made the game better. And by not talking and actually working on the game and making it work, they did a great job in fixing the situation. Now, CD Projekt Red, though, feels very differently, and I think this is a different situation because of the higher profile the company is, the higher profile the game is. They had to come out and say something because all the dialogue about this game since it's launched has been these bugs and these issues. And it has really hurt the company. The stock has gone down. The profile of the company has been kind of ruined in many ways. People, of course, had always looked at CD Projekt Red as this great company that was doing great things, thanks to the Witcher franchise. Interesting enough, Witcher 3, when it launched, had lots of bugs as well, and it had to be fixed over time. So this isn't really, uncharted territory for CD Projekt Red. But this, because of how hyped this game was and how important it was for the company, it really has affected them in a bad way. And it's also affected, I think, the video game journalism world because, unfortunately, while it is not their fault that they didn't get the console version of the games, I do feel that they, unfortunately, by going along with the rules for reviewing this title, led into some issues where people bought the game feeling that it wasn't going to be a problem. Because unfortunately, a lot of people, they just see the number of those reviews. They never read the reviews, and they go, oh, the Cyberpunk got a 9, so it's going to be fine when I play it on PlayStation 4. It's going to be fine when I play it on Xbox One. They get it home, and it's not working properly. And they're going to go, what the heck? You told me it was fine. And of course, their argument is, well, you should have read the review. You would have seen everything. Or you should have, we didn't get the code, and we didn't, push on that. I really hope that video game journalism sites do a few things. I think number one, they need to get rid of review scores. I've said this for years. It's time to get rid of review scores. They're misleading. They don't really tell us much about the game itself. They have very different meanings depending on the score number. And of course, for a lot of people like myself, as an American, growing up in the school system where anything below a 70 was a failing grade, when I see a score that's like below an 80 or below an 8, I don't think that's a good game. And that has been, of course, there's been a lot of contention about that because review scores on some sites say 5 is average. I think it's time to just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. If you want a review, you got to read the review. And that's what people should be doing. They should be reading a review if they can read a review. But also I think that video game journalists need to push back against companies about these ridiculous review situations where, they're not allowed to talk about certain aspects of the game. We saw that with Last of Us Part 2 earlier in the year, where they're not allowed to showcase actual footage of the game. You've seen that with Cyberpunk, where they're not getting the console code because, you need to have a review of this game before it comes out to tell people if they should buy it or not. If you're not going to do that, then it's going to be a messy situation. So I really hope, I don't think it's going to happen, that the journalism world, takes some sort of, advantage and try to fix this on their end as well. It's not their fault what has happened here with this game, but I think that they can learn some things that could make things better for them and also their readers and people like myself who are into this world of gaming and want to hear all the reasons why a game is good or bad, or why I should buy it or why I should not buy it. Now, the main reason I did want to talk about this, though, is I wanted to give my own opinion about this game because I have been playing this game on a launch PlayStation 4. My launch PlayStation 4, which I bought almost 7 years ago when it launched in Japan. And I have been really looking forward to this game ever since it was announced. It was announced, 8 years ago? And I've been really excited for it. I was so down and upset this year when the game was constantly delayed. I hate when game companies, tell a release date far in advance, like a year in advance, and then delay a game. I think it's a really terrible practice. I know that there's reasons for that. I was talking to a friend who said that, of course, there's a lot of reasons for that in terms of investment. I still think it's ridiculous. I still think it's wrong. If you don't know a date, if you can't 100% stick to a date, don't stick to a date, especially in an industry which does have a lot of, crunch and things like that. That's unavoidable in some cases, and sometimes it is avoidable. You don't need to set a date until it's done. And this game did not need to come out now if it really wasn't done, and it wasn't done. But what's been my experience? Because I have to be honest with you, I feel like I've been very lucky compared to most people. Just like most people, I've had crashes, but I haven't had a large number of crashes. I think I've had three crashes so far in the game since I played it. Two of the usual PlayStation blue screen crashes that happen on pretty much any game when something goes wrong, and one time where the game just completely froze my system and I had to reboot the system, manually, which is always a nerve-wracking experience because you never know what went wrong there. Now, I have to say, I think that was also because I was downloading some stuff in the background, and sometimes when that happens, that there's some issues with the system. It's happened before, but when you combine that with a buggy game like Cyberpunk, that can happen. I've also had the graphical issues that a lot of people have had. Characters that look very blocky at times. It didn't happen a lot when I started playing the game, the first 10 hours or so. But as I've hit hour 20, I'm starting to see it a little more. Basically, its texture is not like loading fast enough. It just can't load fast enough into the game. There's so much going on that these textures happen weirdly. I've had characters just show up out of nowhere, sometimes literally going like this in the screen. You see it fast and just show up in the space they're supposed to be in, which is a funny little bug that I remember seeing in Fallout 76 particularly. And other than that, there's one other thing. I don't know if it's a bug or if I just haven't noticed it, but sometimes I feel like maybe there's some dialogue I'm missing. Maybe something that was supposed to have triggered, some event cutscene was supposed to trigger. I feel like it hasn't triggered, and like something kind of happened, and I feel like something got skipped in the story. I don't know how to really explain it, but like there was one point where I'm like, one of the characters said something, and I'm like, do I remember that character saying what they're talking about beforehand? I really don't. I remember something happening, but I don't remember them saying what they're talking about. So I'm a little worried that that's happening. I haven't heard much about that type of bug. It seems more about gameplay and more about graphics. And for me, the graphical problems are problematic, but they've actually been, for the most part, okay for me. And that leads me to my really weird conundrum, and that is that I absolutely agree that this game is a fantastic game that should probably not be played on these systems, and yet I'm playing on these systems because unfortunately I'm not lucky enough to have a PlayStation 5 right now. My order from Amazon is still pending in terms of when it'll be shipping, and no one knows because of the way Amazon Japan had their situation where they oversold the system in November. And now people like myself are waiting for ours. So I'm playing the game right now on PS4, and even with all these bugs and all these problems, I really love this game. I think it's a really, really awesome game. It has a great world to explore. Night City is very awesome to explore. The combat has been a lot of fun, a lot more fun than I expected. I really enjoyed the atmosphere of the game. And it's a really nice open world game with a nice little action combatness to it. A little bit of RPG in there, maybe not as much as people were expecting from CD Projekt Red, but I really am enjoying the game a lot. And that leads to a big problem. This game is very buggy. It is not the game that it should be, and it's not the game that's going to run. You're going to play if you run it on a PC that's like a really powerful PC. A lot of people that have those PCs are playing it are having nothing but fantastic experiences. And yet I'm playing on a PS4, and I'm having a very different experience, and I still love the game. And to be honest with you, it's definitely one of my favorite games of the year. And when it comes time later this month, when I make my top 10 game of the year list, I'm sure it's going to be on that list, but I don't know where I'm going to put it because as much as I love this game, it is a buggy mess right now. And it has affected my playthrough a bit. And I don't know how I'm going to counteract that in terms of where I'm going to place that in my list for certain. And it's really frustrating because this is a game that if this game was bug free or if it only had a few bugs, because open world games tend to have bugs. I mean, most open world games have things go wrong in them. Grand Theft Auto has always had issues with bugs and times. I think Red Dead Redemption had those big bugs and such. All these games I've played have had bugs like that, but this is a much different case. This is like bugs to the next level over and over and over again. And so right now I'm trying to play more of this game and enjoy it, and then trying to figure out what is my favorite game of the year, what is going to be my top 10 games of the year, and I don't know where Cyberpunk will go on there because I do have to keep in mind that this game, as great as it is a mess right now. Yes, it's going to be perfect if you have the best system or the best setup, or it's going to be better in 6 months once the patches are out and once they get everything fixed. But right now, it is sort of a hard situation to deal with. And interesting enough, some people had asked me or asked me through a group I'd read that, is this game playable on a PS4? Should I buy it because I want to buy it? They said, and I said go for it if you really want to play it because I think the game is playable, but it is such a really weird situation right now with it that I don't know really how to recommend it right now. It's one of those things where like I love this game so much, and yet I also feel like I think if you can wait to wait. There's a lot of great games out there right now. It's good to wait. CD Projekt Red isn't going to lose money by you not buying the game right now because, heck, they made a profit on day one. And I'm sure even with the refunds they're going to give out, they're still going to have a profit. It's a great game. But if you own a PS4 or an Xbox One only, yeah, maybe you should wait a little bit. Wait until the patches come out. Wait till they fix the game and then get it. If you have a PS5 or Xbox Series X or even a really good PC, then yeah, maybe you should go ahead and get it because even with the bugs, it is still a fantastic experience. So basically, that's been my situation with it. I'm really disappointed, of course, in CD Projekt Red for all the hype and all the things that's happened. And that's why, again, people say always, don't get too hyped for video games. Don't go crazy for them. Don't pre-order them. Say, now, I really don't care about the pre-ordering thing. You pre-order if you want. You're making a gamble. But if you feel confident about a game and you want to pre-order it, go ahead and pre-order it. I mean, I'm not going to stop you. But this is, of course, another situation where you have to remember things like this can happen. And when you roll the dice, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And I think in this situation with Cyberpunk, there's a little bit of win and there's a little bit of loss. And hopefully CD Projekt Red fixes it pretty quickly. But that's my situation right now with it. I really do like the game, but even I'm getting a little frustrated by some of the bugs. But thankfully, I've been mostly not bug-free, but major bug-free. But I do hope that they can fix this game. I do hope that they get it running really well on the base consoles because that's what they promised. Remember, this game was supposed to come out last April before these next-gen consoles were even really unveiled. Xbox Series X was shown, but we didn't really know all the details for all the systems until much later on. And, of course, it got delayed until now. And of course, now with the next-gen systems out, they play a little better, and they will play even more better within the next-gen patches next year. But, yeah, if you want my personal opinion, if you've been waiting for Cyberpunk 2077 but you haven't bought it yet, wait a little bit. It's a great game. It's fantastic. I highly recommend the game for the game. But if you don't have those next-gen systems or high-end PC, wait a bit for the patches. Wait for them to fix it. Then buy it. The game will be there waiting for you. It'll be fine when it comes out. It is a great game, and I think that the designers of the game should be well commended for the game that they have created in terms of the gameplay, in terms of the design, and in terms of the ambitiousness of it. But of course, when you're making a game this size, it's going to be buggy, and it's going to be problematic if you don't fix those issues. That's just my opinion, though. Obviously, a lot of people have their own opinions, and I know there's a lot of people that say it's unplayable to them, and that's fine because, hey, we have different standards, we have different feelings. So I hope, though, very soon the game will be playable for everyone, and hopefully that is in weeks and not months and months, although we're going to probably have to wait till at least February. Anyway, that's my opinions. If you have your own opinions, you can, of course, leave them in the comment section. Questions are always welcome as well. So if you want to talk about something or want me to talk about something on my own show, then please leave a comment down there and below here. Obviously, like and dislike if you like or dislike the video. That's fine. And share if you like as well. It's love to have other people hear my opinions as well. Anyway, I hope you're having a good holiday season right now, getting ready to make some videos for the end of the year, trying to finish some games to do my top 10 of the year list, and of course playing more Cyberpunk. But until You see me again in a couple of days. Have a good time. Take care. Stay safe. See you later.
See you next time for some more bug-free Reiwa Gaming Matt.